Brain fog and burnout. If dinner time feels like one more decision you can't make, this brain healthy beef stew is for you. It's cozy, low carb, and loaded with ingredients that fuel your focus and memory all in one pot. Hey, I'm Dr. Lexi, functional medicine pharmacist and brain health expert, and I know what it's like to feel sharp one day and completely fried the next. Whether you're juggling Zoom meetings, school drop-offs, or just trying to stay awake past 3 p.m., your brain is calling for support. And this stew is one of my go-to meals when I need real nourishment, not just for my body, but for my brain. Now, brain fog isn't just in your head, it's actually in your cells, and what you eat every day can either feed your focus or fry it. And as a sneak peek into some of the ingredients, this stew supports brain health because grass-fed beef is rich in iron, zinc, and B12 for attention, energy, and memory. Broth, especially if you use bone broth, supports the gut lining and reduces inflammation in the brain. Mushrooms contain antioxidants which protect brain tissue, and leafy greens like collards are loaded with folate and fiber that support detox and neurotransmitter production. Low-carb root swaps using radishes instead of potatoes keeps your blood sugar steady, avoiding that midday energy crash. And coconut aminos and Dijon, my substitute for Worcestershire sauce, brings umami without soy or artificial additives. Now, beef stew can really be whatever it is that you want. You can add just about any vegetable, and I'll go through the ones that we prefer here. But here are some other ideas for some optional substitutions or swaps. So if you don't like onion or garlic or can't tolerate them, you can skip or sub with garlic infused oil. That could be a workaround for a low FODMAP diet. If you're not strict keto or low carb, you can toss in some cubed butternut squash for more fiber and natural sweetness. That's actually what the original recipe calls for. If you need nightshade free, such as AIP or autoimmune protocol, you can omit the paprika and cayenne and skip the Dijon. And if you need extra protein, you can add collagen peptides to the broth or stir in some shredded chicken toward the end to have both beef and chicken. There's lots of options here. But bottom line, when you combine quality protein, healthy fats, and blood sugar balance in one pot, you're giving your brain exactly what it needs to function clearly. Okay, so I've already given you a teaser of some of the ingredients that we're going to be using today, but I've got everything laid out here that I use in this recipe. So we have our stew meat. I have radishes, which I use instead of potatoes. You're gonna have to try this one and just trust me on it. They don't taste as starchy as potatoes, but they definitely soak up all the flavor of the stew and they're delicious. We've got some avocado oil that we'll be kind of pan searing the onions, garlic, and the meat with before we dump everything in. Dijon and coconut aminos is actually my go-to combination for a Worcestershire sauce substitute. We've got some beef broth. You can't really see it here, but here we are. My favorite beef broth is actually Kettle and Fire. I do not have any of that right now, so I'm using a different brand, but ideally that is what I would use. I've got 2 onions, some garlic here, bay leaves, cayenne, salt and pepper, paprika. I've got mushrooms, carrots, and this is actually collard greens. I like to add greens to my stew just because I can. It adds some great micronutrients and they cook down beautifully. So if you have not ever had greens in a stew or anything before, I highly encourage you to try it out. We tried it once and we haven't gone back. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a rundown of what we're gonna do, and then I'm gonna do it all on a time lapse so we can get through it. So first what we'll do is we're going to saute the onions and garlic for about 3 to 5 minutes in some of this avocado oil. And then I'm going to dump in the stew meat and kind of let it brown for a couple of minutes. And then I'm just going to start adding ingredients. So I'm going to start with my root vegetables, so my radishes and my carrots, and then I will add in the mushrooms and the collard greens. And then I'm basically just going to add all of the seasoning and the broth. We will let it come to a boil. I'll let it simmer for somewhere between an hour and a half to make sure everything is cooked through evenly and whatnot. And then I will try to fish out the bay leaf if you can find it. but I'm going to be meal prepping this into my meal prep containers for the week. Now, you can also make this as a slow cooker version. You can just dump everything into your slow cooker and put it on low for 8 to 10 hours. Or you can still do the searing of the meat if you want that extra texture, and then throw it in with everything else. All right, I think that about sums it up. It looks complicated because we pack a lot of different things into this dish, but it's very simple, and you'll see in just a minute. Okay, there you have it. So now I'm going to let this simmer for about an hour, hour and a half. I'll let everything kind of mellow and cook together, cook all the way through, get soft, delicious, all the things. I will taste it at the end to see if I need to add any extra salt or pepper, and then I will meal prep it out in my meal prep bowls. So a couple of other things that I wanted to make note to make this even more brain healthy. Ideally, we would be using grass-fed beef. We would be using all organic ingredients or homegrown or anything like that. However, as we all know, things are expensive. So if you're not able to do that right away, that's totally okay. Just taking one step in the right direction with having whole foods is going to be a great move for your brain and body. Now, a couple of other things from the original recipe. It actually calls for about a cup of flour, at least for this much, and that is to thicken the stew. But you don't have to do that because it does add more carbs. So I tend to let my stew be a little on the brothier side so I don't have to add that extra flour. When I do want it to be thicker, more heartier, oftentimes during the winter, I will add arrowroot starch instead, and I won't add a whole cup. I'll just add it until I think it's thick enough. Usually it's about half that much. And keep in mind, you do not have to make this much. I used about 3.5 pounds of beef in this recipe. That's a little over double what the original recipe calls for. But it's already smelling delicious, and I'm really excited. And here you have it. So this actually got me 8 meals. And as you can see, they're pretty good sized meals as well. So if you've been looking for an easy way to nourish your brain and body, this stew is the perfect place to start. It's cozy, customizable, and totally weeknight approved. I usually make this recipe more during the fall and winter, but I was really craving it this week, so here we are. I've prepped them out in individual containers to make heating and eating easier, but you can absolutely store it in a big glass container as well. And if you ever feel overwhelmed by making your favorite meals healthier, check out my mini course, How to Make Any Recipe Healthy. It's packed with simple swaps and brain-boosting upgrades you can use for every meal without starting from scratch. So be sure to get access to that while you can from the link in the description below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more brain healthy recipes and tips. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.